Thank you for joining us for the first virtual Euclid Creek Watershed Summit. Tonight we will have short presentations from our many community and agency partners highlighting our Euclid Creek activities from 2020. We wish we could be with you in person and enjoying beverages and food, but we appreciate you taking the time to Zoom with us tonight. Before we get started, I wanted to introduce our staff that will be on the call and walk through some Zoom etiquette tips for everyone. So hopefully, Jared, can you just confirm you're seeing a slide with my mug on it now? Great. I'm Elizabeth Heiser. I'm the Watershed Program Manager at Cuyahoga Soil and Water Conservation District. I've been working on Euclid Creek Watershed work since early 2018. I clearly enjoy doing stream cleanups, and I also love teaching the Master Ring Gardener program. I really love interacting with all you wonderful folks, partners from the community and from our volunteer groups. With me tonight from our Watershed staff is Jared Bartley. He's our Senior Program Manager for the Education and Watersheds group. In this role, he works with communities, partner agencies, and other local organizations to develop and implement watershed plans, restoration projects, and outreach programs geared towards enhancing water quality and aquatic health throughout Cuyahoga County. Tonight, Jared's going to be helping out with technical issues. He's also going to lead our polls and trivia for you guys tonight. So I appreciate him helping me out while I advance slides for folks for our presenters tonight. And I think Meg might be having some technical issues, but she's going to jump on here. Meg Hennessy is our new watershed coordinator. She's previously worked in watershed and ecosystem health in Indiana and New Mexico. At Cuyahoga Soil and Water Conservation District, she's heading up our volunteer monitoring programs and working with our local watershed groups. Also on the call with us is our director, Jan Ripka, and Jackie Ziebenberger from our stormwater education program, and she's going to be helping us tonight with our breakout groups. The three of us watershed folks, Meg, Jared, and I, will be serving as moderators and technical support for tonight's meeting. So any issues with Zoom or its function, you can private chat us and we will do our best to help get you hooked up here. So we have several speakers tonight that are going to give brief 5 to 7 minute updates on our community or agency watershed programs and projects. Meg is going to serve as our timekeeper, and the presenters will get an update as their presentation time is nearing its end. But before I dive in, I would love it if everyone could use that chat box function to chat in the community you're representing or live in, or the agency you're representing tonight, as well as one question that you have about Euclid Creek. And after our presentations, we'll have an opportunity to network and catch up in breakout groups and work to answer those questions. So while you chat in where you're coming from, who you're representing, and your question for Euclid Creek, I'm going to give a little background on the program before diving into our 2020 highlights. All right, so we're all here tonight to celebrate our local Euclid Creek Watershed Program efforts. I'm particularly fond of these opportunities to reflect on all the amazing people and programs and projects I get to work with each year. It's hard to believe that, in 2019, we were all gathering in large crowds to celebrate the anniversary of 50 years since the last significant fire on the Cuyahoga River. While in 2020, we all had to pivot to virtual programming as we frantically figured out how to celebrate the 50th Earth Day. The Euclid Creek Watershed Program began in 2000 when 10 communities in the watershed organized informally to address common environmental, stormwater, and development concerns. Since then, Euclid Creek Watershed Council, the Friends of Euclid Creek, and Cuyahoga Soil and Water Conservation District have worked together to implement our Euclid Creek Watershed Action Plan. We're really grateful for our community partners that work together across their boundaries to improve the health of the environment in the Euclid Creek watershed. Representatives from our Watershed Council communities jumped right into the world of virtual meetings with us this year to keep our program going, and they've all agreed to renew funding for the next 4 years. So yay, I get to stay in this position. I'd like to thank Mayors Bodner, Brunello, DeChico, Holtiver Gale, and Ward for joining us tonight, as well as Council Vice Chair Mayor Roach. I also saw that some community council members were going to sign on with us tonight from South Euclid and Euclid, as well as Mayfield Heights. So we really appreciate our community partners showing up tonight and sharing in our Euclid Creek successes. We're also grateful to our many local partners who assist us with educational programming, volunteer stewardship projects, grant applications and management, and water quality monitoring. I think what you'll find as we go through all our 2020 highlights is that our Watershed program really relies on a large group of wonderful individuals. So tonight, I'm specifically going to talk about our grants and funding, our community projects, our outreach efforts, and highlight our important work done by our volunteers. In addition to community funding for the program, we also had 3 additional funding sources this year: Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, Western Reserve Land Conservancy and Dominion Energy, as well as Ohio Lake Erie Commission as a Great Lakes Restoration Initiative grant. Jeez, say that 3 times fast. We want to acknowledge the significant investment that the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District has made over the years to the Euclid Creek watershed. Since we started this partnership with the district in 2009, the program has used those watershed service partner funds to leverage projects to protect undeveloped lands and riparian corridors. The funds from the district have helped us to directly leverage almost $8 million for watershed action implementation in the Euclid Creek watershed. So for that, we thank them. In early 2019, West Creek Conservancy was awarded a Clean Ohio grant to purchase the entire 37-acre parcel in Highland Heights known as the Dusty Goldenrod Preserve. With the entire property now protected, protection and restoration activities have kicked into high gear thanks to a watershed mini grant from Dominion Energy and Western Reserve Land Conservancy. Friends of Euclid Creek worked with volunteers to construct deer exclosures, remove invasive plant species, and 875 live stakes have been planted to help address stream bank erosion. You can learn more about this from our virtual tour on YouTube, and Jared's going to share a link to that in the chat. And just some photos from all these fun activities that we did as part of this grant, which was really exciting. And some of this was clearly pre-COVID, but some was after. And you can see our new signage out there if you go out and check out the trail. Our next big grant project was the Mayfield Campus Grant. This year, Cuyahoga Soil and Water Conservation District has worked with consultants on a 100% design project for the West Branch of Euclid Creek on the Mayfield Sand Ridge Golf Course campus in Lyndhurst. Staff from Soil and Water and from Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District help support habitat monitoring and biological monitoring as part of this grant. And we also are using this design project to go out and bid, get funding to hopefully bid for construction in future years. I wanted to give a shout out to Jeff Filarski, City of Lyndhurst engineer, Paul Kowalczyk with Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, and Jane Goodman, who are all on the advisory committee for this project. Jane did a really nice video of Euclid Creek watershed projects that includes a highlight of this and more of me talking. But if you want to see that really great video, which has got very nice photos of Euclid Creek, Jared's also going to put that link in the chat. And just some fun photos. There's Jan, our director. She got to come out and help with our 60% design review meeting out in the field. And for future grants, Chagrin River Watershed Partners was recently awarded a United States Forest Service Great Lakes Restoration Initiative grant for tree planting on behalf of the Central Lake Erie Basin Collaborative. And we're looking forward to working with Richmond Heights and Lyndhurst to implement some native tree plantings that resulted from this award this year. While many watershed projects were put on hold while addressing COVID-19 priorities, I did want to share a few community project highlights that won't be featured by other presenters tonight. You may have noticed some changes to the bioretention at Wiley Park and Mayfield Village. For that, we can thank Master Rain Gardener Rose Mason for working with village service staff to weed and tidy up the basins. So stay tuned, we may have a spring planting this year. Alas, Doug Metzen will be retiring before we can get him out to one more planting event. So we want to wish Doug best wishes in his retirement and thank him for all the work he's done on behalf of Mayfield Village and Euclid Creek. Cuyahoga County worked with the City of Richmond Heights this year to design and install an enhanced swale at the Richmond Heights Community Center. This location was experiencing erosion issues from driveway runoff. So this new enhanced swale will soak in 37,000 gallons of runoff during each 1-inch rain event and will help prevent downstream erosion along the East Branch of Euclid Creek. So we're looking forward to seeing how that looks this spring. This year, South Euclid implemented the Maywood Road Infrastructure Improvements Project. This project separated the sanitary sewer from the common trench, common manhole configuration that was built in the early 1920s. The elimination of common trench sewage systems reduces infiltration and inflow into the sewer system. It helps reduce basement flooding and reduces illicit discharges into Euclid Creek, which is a big problem for us. In 2021, South Euclid will be doing a similar project for Oakmount Road. Jared also has a link for this with an attachment that Andy Blackley sent us if you'd like to learn more about these projects. Unfortunately, Andy wasn't able to join us tonight. Our focus in Euclid Creek is typically on educational programming and outreach, water quality monitoring, plantings and conservation site maintenance, stream cleanups, and invasive species management. And in 2019, we added master rain gardener workshops to the mix. In 2020, things have looked a bit different. Overnight, spouses became videographers and staff became narrators and graphic designers and video editors, all to continue our work remotely. We made a real push to educate residents about individual actions they can take to help with the health of Euclid Creek, whether it was sharing the Friends of Euclid Creek simple tips for taking care of Mother Earth brochure, or encouraging residents to take actions in their yard to earn their very own Watershed Champion sign. We wanted to focus on how individuals really can make a difference. Between Friends of Euclid Creek and the Euclid Creek Watershed Program, over 6,000 mailers were sent out in 2020 to Euclid Creek Watershed addresses, and 36 individuals from Euclid Creek Watershed communities committed to doing individual actions through one of our environmental pledges. In an effort to help individuals take action in their own yard, we are working to provide more in-depth programming like the Master Rain Gardener program to help move that bar towards better infiltration and water quality in our urban watersheds. And this year, 11 Master Rain Gardeners resided in Euclid Creek Watershed communities, and we were really excited about Euclid Creek Councilwoman Christine McIntosh taking the course and building her first rain garden this year in Euclid. We're also excited that 2 Master Rain Gardener graduates have adopted public rain gardens in the Euclid Creek Watershed and are helping our communities to do that routine maintenance, which we know is a struggle for us. So that's our quick breeze through all our projects, but I really want to talk about the people that get stuff done, our volunteers. So while we keep busy with managing grants, leading projects, and hosting educational events, none of this important work is possible without our amazing network of helpers. Tonight, we want to call attention to some special stewards who stood out during this crazy time. Euclid Creek has its fair share of invasive plant problems. We work with volunteers to address Phragmites at Beechwood Middle School, Greenwood Farm, and Lower Hawkins School, mugwort at Wildwood, and buckthorn in Beechwood. So thanks to our many volunteers who assist us with this endeavor. With us tonight, I noticed a few of these faces. So Audrey is our invasive wizard warrior champion because she came to 2 of our Weed Warrior events this year. And Dolores helped out with that mugwort. We've got Kevin and Dave and Margaret, and Kate Chappell is with us as well tonight. So thank all of you who help us address invasive plants. We know it is not an easy task. Since 2005, volunteers have conducted almost 9,000 observations at 10 monitoring stations in the watershed. New in 2020 is a partnership with Cleveland Water Alliance and Cleveland Metro Parks to sample nutrients using handheld technology and a smartphone. We're really excited about the addition of Water Reporter to the program, where now volunteers can see their data and updates in real time. Bree Turner with the Metro Parks is going to talk to us more about this program later this evening. You can see her here on the left. And here's that Water Reporter map, which you can find on our website now. And this is all updated in real time with all these volunteers' data, and it's pretty cool. So over 2020, monitors are all listed here. I wanted to highlight those that have an asterisk and an EOS by their names. These folks, in addition to doing our normal water quality monitoring, have also been testing out our Erie Open Systems spectrometers, which involve a lot of effort on their end to calibrate and compare their results between those 2 systems. This is super time intensive, and these folks had to bear with the pain of going through a brand new program and doing it during a pandemic. So we really want to acknowledge the effort that went into that and how amazing these stewards are. So we thank you, water quality monitors. Neil and Esther are our new water quality chemistry wizards. They adopted several new sites at Dusty Goldenrod, and they were the most sampled out there, 28 this year. John Hurst had 16 events and was also one of our EOS superstars. Marianne and Carolyn got out early this year. If you haven't seen Marianne, she did a thesis on Euclid Creek watershed quality, water quality monitoring. So they were wrapping that work up this spring. And then our other EOS monitors, Tim, Kevin, and Granur, all did 12 sampling events, and longtime monitors who have been with the program for years and years and years, Mary Kay and Annie also got out. So thank you, all of you. In 2019, we received a pitch from Cleveland Metro Parks watershed volunteer Emily Brown, who had noticed some litter hotspots at the Euclid Creek Reservation. This started an effort to up our anti-litter efforts with monthly cleanups and data collection in 2019. And we're hoping to utilize the data that Emily has compiled in addition to new data we are collecting with a mobile application called Literati to help communicate to the public and upstream landowners about the importance of reducing our waste streams. So we want to thank all our cleanup pros who attended more than one stream cleanup this year. Tom Daly had the most in-person cleanups, and I think he's here with us tonight. Here he is pulling mugwort, but he's also a cleanup pro. Emily Brown was at 4 of our in-person events and did both of our virtual challenges. Neil was at 3 of our in-person events and did 1 of our virtual challenges. And his partner in crime, Esther, did 3 of our cleanups, as well as Adam Zimmerman and Howard, who are both cleanup pros. And Howard and Beth Simon, these 2 are great. They did 2 of our soil and water conservation district cleanups, as well as helped lead and went to acacia cleanups with Cleveland Metro Parks. And last but not least, Zakaria and Zion. Zion's our youngest steward cleanup pro, and he was so cute coming out and helping us with our stream cleanups this year. We would be remiss not to mention our community and agency staff partners who volunteer to lend a hand. So thanks to Mara Roach out there with the Weed Whip, Michael Love and Dan Subwick with South Euclid, Rhonda Gibson, Chris Vild, he's at every event he can be at, Brian Belfiore and the Highland Heights Service Department staff for helping us chip all these trees, and Josh Phillips and Bree Turner with Cleveland Metro Parks, all of them for lending hands with all our stream cleanups, invasive plant management, and water quality monitoring projects. Sadly, one of our most active public involvement and public education committee members, Joe Newman, passed away on January 3rd. Joe spent 17 of his 92 years representing Mayfield Heights on the Euclid Creek Public Involvement Public Education Committee from 2003 to 2020. He was a super active member and was happy to spread the word to City Council and residents about steps people can take to be friendly to their watershed and their environment. Each year, he would work the Euclid Creek Watershed Table at Earth Day, Environmental Fair at Rockwell Automation. Joe's efforts went above and beyond in all that he did, as well as his work with Euclid Creek, and we will certainly be missing Joe. Our new volunteer award goes to Howard this year. Neil and Esther dragged Howard out to help with debris removal at Dusty Goldenrod early in the year, and before you knew it, Howard was pitching in at our stream cleanups. He was leading efforts to manage our conservation easement known as Redstone Run in Richmond Heights and posing for all these great photos that I share on all the social media. So thank you so much, Howard, for being our new volunteer award. Our independent leader and team player of the year is Natalie. Natalie is a watershed volunteer, and this year she joined the Friends of Euclid Creek Board and is leading their membership committee efforts. Tonight, we're going to hear her podcast. In addition to those efforts, Natalie has been helping at all of the Greenwood Farm workdays and leading independent management efforts at the farm. So thank you, Natalie, for going above and beyond. And last but not least, our Conservation Couple Award this year goes to Esther and Neil. Esther and Neil go above and beyond for Euclid Creek. They lead the Friends of Euclid Creek Conservation Committee. They perform monthly water quality monitoring tests. They join all of our group invasive plant management and lead those efforts at Dusty Goldenrod, as well as our stream cleanups. We cannot thank Neil and Esther enough for their efforts this year. We wish we had time to share more highlights with you, but you can always find out more about our ongoing activities each month in our email newsletters. We have routine posts to Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. While our work is not yet done, we do want to thank you all for your continued commitment to the ultimate goal of swimmable, fishable waters in Euclid Creek. And feel free to pop those questions in the chat box. And we're going to now transition to our next speaker.
Hello.
This is Kelly Buchowski. She's the Friends of Euclid Creek president, and she's going to talk to us about Friends of Euclid Creek 2020 in review and 2021 planning.
Yes, hello everyone. Friends of Euclid Creek has been working for 20 years in the watershed to educate residents and communities about the problems, environmental problems in the watershed. And we do this, we hold presentations, we have educational materials, we do watershed tours and participate in community events. Also, our volunteers, and we are all volunteers, are assisting the Euclid Creek Watershed Program and our other partners to water monitor and pull invasive plants, litter removal, planting, and especially with conservation. And we're very proud that this is our 20th year as an all-volunteer organization. So, okay, as everybody knows, February was a great month. We had a wonderful meeting. You can go ahead. Go ahead. Okay. We had a great list of events coming up. We had people wanting to come on as volunteers on committees and on the board. So then of course everything was shut down and we were at a loss because that's how we work. We go out into the public and we do things. And in the middle of that, trying to figure out how to manage that, we were bringing on several new board members, and that's new people too, including a treasurer, a vice president, the vice president, and the president. So we were busy getting organized, learning about how FOSI works, how to Zoom, and figuring out the future. It was a lot. So we eventually did have board meetings other than Zooming. We met in my yard, in my backyard, several times. That was a lot of fun. And we worked in our garden. Friends of Euclid Creek established this garden in 2019. It's in Euclid, Ohio, Sims Park. It is 700 feet. It was quite a production to put together. It took 30 volunteers, 4 hours, and 100 plants. And we manage it with our garden crew. Deb Kramars is the leader. I think I saw the names of some of our garden crew out there. Dolores and Ellen Howard, they're out there in the audience. They work 1 week a month, one time, 1 week per month. So no one is overstretched. We could use really one more person. So finally, we got ourselves together. We broke out of jail and we Zoomed and we mailed and we emailed. When we Zoomed, we presented the results of the Euclid Creek Watershed Monitoring by Mary Ann Hensha, which is a great program. We also had Climate Change by the Cleveland Sustainability. We mailed 1,700 envelopes of educational materials to residents living along the creek. We emailed an update to our members, volunteers, and friends every month. And then we walked with Chris Field, Why Trees Matter. That was a fabulous program. It's just such a shame that it had to be, so limited, but we were in Welsh Woods and it was just terrific. And we cut down trees. I think you've seen this picture before. This is in the Dusty Goldenrod Preserve. We have a conservation committee chaired by Esther Trepaul with her partner Neil, who work endlessly in the Dusty to take care of it. And we have a full committee of people that are dedicated to this wetland. This is a picture of when they cut down, I think it was 20 Austrian pines and several maples. This, and then we had a tour of the wetland. Botanist John Rainier came and pointed out all the rare and wonderful native plants in the Dusty Goldenrod Preserve. I know it's a favorite place for the Ohio Native Plant Society. They go in there every year for a tour. At last I get to do something. We had a community event, which was so amazing and wonderful considering the circumstances. So there I am at the City of Euclid Plant Swap to tell all about Friends and hand out our educational brochures. The one with the butterfly is a Friends of Euclid Creek tips to be nature friendly that we give to people. And we didn't stop there. We kept on going. And while all this is going on, we made a website. Now, we haven't had a website ever. We did have a blog. We did have a blog. Now we have Friends of Euclid Creek, which that turned out to be a bit of a production too. I helped our consultant, Great Lakes Tech, helped. Okay, so if you want more information, please go to our website. We have information on our upcoming events. We want to thank our partners, Cuyahoga Soil and Water, the Sewer District, Dominion Energy, these are our grantors, and Chagrin River Partners who help us. And I want everybody to know, go to our website. We have $1,000 scholarship on April 1.
Thank you so much, Kelly. I know it's really hard to do this Pachacacha style quick upbeat presentation, so we appreciate you putting that together. We think Jared has polls back.
So we're going to hop into a poll that's going to relate to the next presentation. All right, so we're launching the polling now. Which of these pollutants does Euclid Creek have a TMDL for? And this is multiple choice, so you can select as many as you think there's a TMDL for in Euclid Creek. We'll leave this open until most people get a chance to vote here. In other words, prescribed amount of a particular pollutant that can be in the water and still maintain watershed health. So people are still voting here, still coming in. Give her another 30 seconds here or so to vote, or until everybody votes. And 54 of this, I don't know if it's going to count me as voting or not. I don't get to vote. So. All right. Looks like we're stalling out there. I'll leave it open for about 5 more seconds here. I'm going to end the polling. And so with 75% of the vote, most people selected phosphorus. 75% of the people who voted selected phosphorus. And then it's really close between siltation and bacteria. So the correct answer is there are TMDLs for phosphorus, which everyone guessed, and also siltation. But bacteria is kind of a trick question. It's kind of a trick question Elizabeth put in there because while Euclid Creek is impaired for bacteria, there is not a current TMDL for bacteria. So everybody did pretty good there, and it fell for Elizabeth's trick a little bit. So, and so for people who may not know, siltation is sediment in the water. But ready to move along.
Yes, great. Our next speaker is Bree Turner. She's with Cleveland Metro Parks and their Watershed Volunteer Program. So Bree, hopefully everyone can see your first slide here, water quality monitoring in 2020. Hopefully I'm sharing successfully here.
You are.
Great, thanks, Mayor Ward. Bree, you wanna take over here?
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming to this event tonight. My name is Brianni Turner, or Bree Turner for short, and I'm here with the Cleveland Metro Parks. And today I'm just going to be giving you a little bit of an overview of some of the work that the Cleveland Metro Parks does with the Cuyahoga Soil and Water Conservation District. Please advance. So the Cleveland Metro Parks is a government administration organization which spans a total of 100 miles of parkway and is comprised of 18 reservations, 8 golf courses, 5 nature centers, and of course the Cleveland Metro Parks Zoo. The Metro Parks currently operates under 3 basic pillars: conservation, education, and recreation. Please advance. So the Watershed Volunteer Program is a natural resources program offered by the Cleveland Metro Parks to engage citizens in watershed improvement projects. The program was first started in 2012. It's funded by the Ohio Environmental Education Fund and the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District. As of the end of last year, December 2020, over 2,180 volunteers have contributed to more than 22,000 hours for the WVP program. And a total of 250 volunteers have been awarded with a Watershed Steward certificate for the completion of at least 10 service hours in each of our 3 main categories. Next slide, please. So currently, the WVP program offers a range of opportunities to volunteers, including learning, monitoring, restoration, and community outreach events. And these events can be offered in a variety of different formats, including group sessions, virtual workshops, and independent projects. Additionally, these events can be offered as primary events, which are hosted by WVP staff, or as supplemental events, which are hosted by our partners. So in the past, the program has offered several supplemental events in partnership with the Cuyahoga Soil and Water Conservation District, such as stream cleanups, which is pictured there, and other events such as live stake events. So another program that we offer to our volunteers in conjunction with the Cuyahoga Soil and Water Conservation District is the water quality chemistry monitoring. So the Euclid Creek water quality monitoring program was first established in the early 2000s, kind of as this partnership between Cuyahoga Soil and Water Conservation District in conjunction with the Friends of Euclid Creek, the Euclid Creek Watershed Council, the Ohio EPA, and other local colleges. So the Cleveland Metro Parks joined the program as a partner around 2010, and we currently function to offer support to the data needs of the Euclid Creek coordinator and the Euclid Creek Watershed Council and Friends of Euclid Creek by assisting with water quality monitoring trainings, providing any additional equipment, and offering Euclid Creek water quality monitoring opportunities to our volunteers. And then we offer these opportunities as independent projects, which kind of requires the attendance of 1 training session before a volunteer can go out in the field and actually go out to monitor independently. So why is this important? Why is this type of work important? Why do we do this? Water quality monitoring is essential for identifying really problematic issues within the watershed. It's important for generating awareness and creating educational opportunities, but overall, it's really important for just maintaining a healthy watershed and ecosystem. So a few of the parameters that few of the other presenters have kind of touched on earlier in the presentation, we monitor physical parameters and chemical parameters, but we also monitor nutrients such as phosphates and ammonia. So one water chemistry monitoring project that we really initiated this year was the Smart Citizen Science Initiative. So this program was funded by the Cleveland Foundation and coordinated by the Cleveland Water Alliance. And the main goal of this initiative was to address the problem of harmful algal blooms within the Lake Erie region. So in order to do that, the program sought to provide more water quality monitoring opportunities to citizen scientists around the Lake Erie Basin. It sought to implement new water quality monitoring technology to do so. And it overall just, the program, one of the goals for the program was to collect a greater quantity of water quality monitoring data that could be standardized through water quality monitoring protocols. So 2020 was also the first year that we began collecting water quality monitoring data on Water Reporter. So Water Reporter is a platform that's designed to collect and store quantitative data, as well as collect more qualitative observations through a post and image upload feature. One of the more useful features that the water quality monitoring program has been implementing with this platform is the interactive map feature. So, as you can see from this image, this is an example of the Euclid Creek Watershed map with 7 monitoring stations. Some of them are a little hidden behind some of the posts there, but you can see the boundaries of the Euclid Creek watershed and the stations that are designated within that the watershed. And then this image shows the most recent values of phosphate collected from 2 different devices at a single station within the Euclid Creek watershed. So as you can see, Water Reporter mapping is very useful, and it can provide volunteers with an easy to use on the go approach, taking their samples and their measurements while they're out in the field. So kind of looking forward to the 2021 field season, we're hoping to continue these monitoring efforts by providing opportunities for our volunteers to get involved with our normal chemistry monitoring program, get out and take some stream photos or photo observations of their field findings, and to continue offering opportunities with the Smart Citizen Science Initiative. So if you're interested in learning about any of the things that I talked about today, I provided a few links on the right-hand side of this slide. I also have, Elizabeth, would you be able to maybe share this?
Yeah, I'm hoping that all presenters are okay with me sharing a PDF of their slides afterwards with everyone via email.
Thank you. Also, if you have any questions about the Watershed Volunteer Program, please reach out to wvpinfo@clevelandmetroparks.com, and we can answer any questions that you might have.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Brianni, for sharing with us and for helping us do all this new programming, water quality monitoring. Jared, I think you're going to get the next poll.
All right, so our next one. Again, so a lot of these polls, they are synced with whoever's the speaker or program is coming next. So which Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District wastewater treatment plant serves most Euclid Creek communities? And there's I was going to throw a little wrench in there, but that's one of our polls later, trick questions later. So I don't want to say anything about other service in the watershed. All right, so we're getting close. We're up to 55 people have voted. Give everybody about 3 more seconds here to get their votes in. I'm going to end polling and share the results. So most people, 68%, picked Easterly, which is the correct answer on Lakeshore Boulevard there. So good job. Give yourself a round of applause if you picked easterly. Northerly is kind of a trick question. There is no northerly wastewater treatment plant. There is southerly and westerly, but no northerly. So nice try. Anyway, moving right along to our next speaker.
Yeah, so next up we have Jeff Jowett, who is our watershed team leader for our Euclid Creek watershed communities, and he's going to talk to us about some of the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District projects in Euclid Creek. So Jeff, I think I've got you all loaded up here and ready to go.
Great, thank you very much. Again, my name is Jeff Jowett, Senior Watershed Team Leader with the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, and I'm happy to say that I got that question right. I was a little nervous, northerly kind of tricked me, but yeah, we got it right. So again, thank you for having me here. I'm going to talk to you about two projects that the Sewer District has done that directly benefit Euclid Creek, and one of those is funded through the Project Clean Lake, which is our program that came out of the consent decree with the US EPA to address combined sewer overflows. And the other one is with our regional stormwater management program, which is designed to manage flooding and erosion and water quality issues all along our waterways across Northeast Ohio. So we go to the next slide. So the first one I'm going to talk to you about is the Euclid Creek Flood Control Risk Management Project. This was a project that was constructed by the Army Corps of Engineers, and through the Regional Stormwater Management Program, we partnered with the city of Cleveland, who has the responsibility to maintain it, in order to bring this back up into compliance. So next slide. So in the 1970s, this area down by the mouth of Euclid Creek saw some significant flooding. And so the Army Corps came in 1984. They did some work to address this by putting in a larger bridge along Lakeshore Boulevard, adding 700 feet of concrete channel there, and adding a levee to the north and northeast bank. A few years after that, there was some additional flooding. And at that point in 1992, the Corps came back and put in an additional 600 feet of concrete channel there. Next slide. And in August of 2017, the Army Corps came along to do one of their inspections, and they deemed this area to be unacceptable. There were multiple violations out there. Maintenance had not been kept up. One of the issues that was there was a lot of shoaling going on in the concrete channel, meaning that sediment deposits had built up, which is decreasing the capacity of that channel to pass through the larger flows. So we went in there, we removed all of that shoaling, and then we later came by and partnered with the city of Cleveland to get the remaining deficiencies, which were encroachments within the easement. So this impeded access and also threatened the integrity of the levee itself, with trees growing, heavy vegetation, and also encroachments by fences and structures and other things that were actually built into that easement area, which, if there was an emergency, would hinder access along the top of the levee there. So the big thing about this is that inactive status, that because of the unacceptable inspection report, it put it into an inactive status. That meant if there was a catastrophic event that occurred in this area, the people that were directly affected by it would be ineligible for federal funds because of the inactive status. So it was important for us in the city of Cleveland to get this back up to active status in case we have that event and these folks could get the help that they need. So next slide. So you might be asking, why trees? I mean, we all love trees, absolutely, but why do we have to remove the trees and heavy vegetation? So this is exactly what the Army Corps says. Vegetation and other encroachments can harm the structural integrity of levees, obscure visibility, impede access for maintenance and inspection, and or hinder emergency flood fighting operations. So we see the same thing on dams, where we do not want to have heavy vegetation and trees with their deep roots penetrating that levee or dam. That can lead to seepage, water getting through there, animals burrowing. And when we have that large event, it can lead to a critical failure. So we had to come by, remove those trees and those other structures that were within the easement and would impede access and also disrupt any emergency vehicles. All right, next slide. the clock is running quickly. So this is the highlighted area in the phase 1 that we did in 2019. We pulled those fences back, removed the trees and heavy vegetation. And because we did this work, we brought that back up into compliance with the Army Corps. Next slide. There is still some additional work where we have to remove the trees and also heavy vegetation. Further downstream past Lakeshore Boulevard, we are coordinating with the Corps and the city of Cleveland in order to take on that part of the job. So next slide. And the next project I want to talk to you about is the one that comes out of Project Clean Lake, which is our consent decree project with the US EPA to reduce combined sewer overflow. So this is one of our tunnels. This was our first tunnel that we constructed. This was a $195 million investment into Lake Erie and Euclid Creek. This is almost a 3.5-mile tunnel in which we dropped the tunnel boring machine, which you can see down in the left-hand corner there, that yellow circular device. And so what we did is we dropped that down in the ECT1 shaft over by Brattonall there. And then that dug along almost a 3-mile course under Lake Erie, along Lakeshore Boulevard, under Nottingham. And then we pulled it up once it got past St. Clair Boulevard at our last shaft site. So this is an incredible structure. You could drive a semi-truck literally through this tunnel. That's how large it is. And you can see in one of the photos, also in the left-hand corner, we're actually lowering a whole cement truck down into that shaft to line that tunnel. So what happens here, and this tunnel just came online in 2019. And so what happens when this came online is no longer will the combined sewers that have stormwater mixed with raw sewage discharge into Euclid Creek and then also into Lake Erie, causing high bacteria levels. What'll happen is these sewers will go into the tunnel where we will keep all of that flow, 65 million gallons per event. That's how much storage we have there. And we will hold all of that nasty sewage mixed with stormwater until we can properly treat it at our treatment plant and then release it back into the environment. So when this project came online, again, this was our first one through our consent decree, we have modeled out 317 million gallons of combined sewer overflow that's going to be captured annually just by the Euclid Creek tunnel. So we should see some dramatic water quality improvements within Euclid Creek and then also down at Euclid Beach and Lake Erie in this area. So we're really excited to get some of this monitoring back, especially after the large rain events. And so that's all I have for you today. But again, this is my contact information. Please feel free to reach out to me. I also want to just let everybody know that we have cost savings programs out there. If anybody is in need of that, please call our customer service number at 216-881-8247 for that information. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks so much, Jeff. I always find these big tunnel projects fascinating. I know our construction inspectors get to get out and see some of that stuff while they're in progress, but I have to wait till we get all the pictures. So thank you for sharing. I think Jared is going to pull up our next poll.
So our next poll is, which Euclid Creek watershed community has its own wastewater treatment plant, so managed separately from the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District? So everyone, get everybody's votes in here. And we'll see where we fall. So your choices are Highland Heights, South Euclid, Lyndhurst, or Mayfield Heights. So waiting on maybe another 10 more votes here. All right. Testing everyone's watershed knowledge here. More of a trivia. You didn't know it was going to be trivia night. I should have brought some appetizers for everyone. All right, so we're going to end the polling here and share that out. So the correct answer is Euclid, and most people knew that. So that's excellent. It's the only community, I believe, in the watershed that does not, that maintains its own wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah.
Right.
So next up, we are actually going to share a presentation from Euclid that Allison Lucasy-Love created for us. So I'm going to load up her video and you guys can hear about their lakeshore stabilization project.
Hello, my name is Allison Lucasy Love, and I am the Acting Director of the Department of Planning and Development at the City of Euclid. Since 2016, I have managed the Euclid Waterfront Improvements Plan, which is an innovative shoreline stabilization project that expands public access across historically privatized land along Lake Erie. It connects residents directly to the lake while improving nearshore habitat and mitigating erosion. The project is innovative for its public-private partnerships, creating long-term easement agreements with private property owners, and is made possible with federal, state, and local funds, including a $2.67 million grant from FEMA, which marks the largest sum of pre-disaster funds spent on erosion in the Great Lakes region. City Council adopted the overall plan in 2009, and after years of negotiation, by 2018, the city had secured site control and was awarded all permits, with a construction site spanning about 3,000 linear feet of shoreline. This remains one of the longest coastal stabilization projects that ODNR has permitted. Over the past decade, the city has made strides to construct improvements, including trails within Sims Park and a fishing pier in 2013. To date, over $14 million has been invested in testing, engineering, planning, permits, and construction. In 2018, construction began on what will be, by the end of 2021, a 3/4 of a mile lakefront public access bike ped trail connecting Sims Park and a future lakefront park at approximately East 248th Street and Lakeshore Boulevard. Throughout construction, a segment of the trail just east of the fishing pier, and seen in this photo, is currently open and accessible to the public. Breaking ground on this phase drew a lot of attention to the project, which has become the public-private partnership model that other lakefront communities seek to emulate in order to combat rising water levels. We are proud to lend our experiences to multiple regional studies and through the creation of a new shoreline special improvement district. And in addition to expanding public access, the project is focused on improving Lake Erie's nearshore health by minimizing nutrient loading and reestablishing a living shoreline. Improvements include live stakes, which were planted on the new cobble beaches, and over the life of the project, over 6,000 tons of sediment will be prevented from flowing into the lake through the establishment of nearly 3 acres of native plantings on a newly sloped 2-to-1 vegetated bluff. Over 2,100 pounds of phosphorus will also have been prevented from flowing into Lake Erie due to the addition of 2 biofiltration islands at 1,600 square feet each that capture and clean stormwater runoff from the trails before entering the lake. Pictured on this slide is one of those biofiltration islands. In 2020, the city acquired an additional 6 acres of undeveloped land to the east of Sims Park behind Lakeside Cove Apartments. It will expand the publicly accessible parkland to approximately 40 acres of conserved land. The acquisition was made possible through a grant from the Ohio Public Works Commission and the Western Reserve Land Conservancy. For more information on the Euclid Waterfront Project, you can visit our website at cityofeuclid.com. Click on the project name under Planning and Development for drone videos, articles, and more covering the project. There are also resources there for any lakefront residents experiencing erosion outside of the project area. And of course, we invite everyone to come and explore the lakefront for yourself. Visit us at Sims Park, which is at 23131 Lakeshore Boulevard. Thanks so much for your time. Have a good summit, everyone.
Wonderful. Thanks to Allison for recording that video for us ahead of time. I'm always excited to see what Allison's up to. Her and her husband are always getting up to good projects in our communities. So I think Jared has our next poll, which is another trivia question.
Another trivia question. So which Euclid Creek community lies in the most watersheds? Yeah, Mayfield Heights, Euclid, Cleveland, Beechwood, Highland Heights, or Richmond Heights?
Our next speaker, he's gonna be ready here. He's gonna freestyle it. So you guys get a break from watching watching screens. So Jared, when you're ready with
We're
those.
gonna share results here. So Cleveland got the most votes with 36%. Beechwood got the second most, 33%. Elizabeth tells me it's Beechwood, but I think if you carved up Cleveland, I think Cleveland might actually have the most watersheds.
Yeah.
Depending on how you divide those up. So it depends on how you draw your watershed lines, but Beechwood is in 6 different watersheds, which is a lot for a community that size. And bonus points if you know which watersheds. But I'll tell you anyway, it's the Chagrin River, Doan Brook, Euclid Creek, Mill Creek, 9 Mile Creek, and Tinker's Creek. So just so everybody doesn't have to talk at once and scream out their answer.
Well, thank you. And yeah, apologies because I came up with all the trivia and polls. That was the last thing that got done for the summit. So I might not have thought that one through so much. We're always talking about Beechwood because we're always doing events out there with Tinker's Creek and with our partners at Chagrin River. So that was forefront in my mind. And Chris Bild from the city of Beechwood is our chair for Euclid Creek Watershed Council. And he's going to present to us tonight about planning for the future and in a changing climate. So thanks, Chris, for joining us and talking with us tonight.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's nice to see everybody, even though it's virtual. I don't have any slides, so I'm going to just read off a script. Hopefully I'll be able to do it within my time frame. I believe most of you know who I am. My name is Chris Bild. I work for the city of Beechwood in the Public Works Department. My title is Environmental Manager. I'm in charge of rubbish, recycling, urban forestry, and federal stormwater compliance, or the Phase 2 program. With significant rain events last year, our attention was turned to flooding and wondering if this is going to be the new normal. We experienced flooding all over the city, from basements of residential homes to chronically wet backyards and flooded streets. With the assistance of our engineer's office, we installed flow meters at strategic locations after a major rain event in late March in an effort to monitor flow through both sewer systems within the next 6 months. We also filmed and dye tested scores of homes looking for reasons why those homes continually flood during major rain events. All of the sanitary sewers in the city of Beechwood are encased in concrete. How is the stormwater accessing the sanitary system and subsequently flooding basements? That's what we are looking to find out. Are the rain events of the last year going to be the new normal? What does a city do when most of its sewer system was installed 90+ years ago, when the sewers were designed to handle 5 and 10-year rain events, not 25 and 50-year rain events that we are now experiencing on a regular basis? How does a city build extra capacity into its sewer system in a built environment, taking into account that we are the headwaters to the east side of Cuyahoga County, and what we do, good or bad, affects our watershed neighbors downstream? These issues were the ones that we were delving into last year. This year, we are continuing to investigate and monitor. Some plans to expand sewer capacity in certain areas of the city will begin. I have been meeting with residents that have chronically wet and flooded yards, looking for ways to assist them with solutions that move and drain excess water from their yards in a more natural way, with stormwater controls like rain gardens and swales. In extreme cases, the city will provide an additional storm sewer connection for residents to connect to, provided they have a plan that is reviewed and approved by our city engineer. It can be challenging to find ways to dry out a yard on small properties without affecting neighboring properties. In addition to addressing extreme weather, we had last year with the city of Beechwood, we've continued our regular maintenance activities. The city of Beechwood has many partners that assist us in maintaining our sewer systems. With the help of the Cuyahoga County Public Works Department, 21,641 feet of sanitary sewers were cleaned. 43,700 feet of storm sewers were also cleaned. 56,012 feet of sanitary sewers were filmed, and 85,223 feet of storm sewers were filmed. 276 catch basins were also cleaned, along with dye testing, major and minor sewer repairs. Our total operating expenditures with the county for 2020 was $711,198, a pretty significant investment. This does not include money we spent internally by crews, internal crews, city crews, responding to sewer calls for assistance. And with those, we were dye testing, filming, and cleaning residential sewer lines. Not to mention our own capital improvement projects. Another one of our partners is the Cuyahoga County Soil and Water Conservation District, providing us pipe, public involvement, and public education services with educational information like bulletins, handouts, and a newsletter. Activities like rain garden installation and maintenance, storm drain stenciling, and our project for 2020, the removal of non-native invasive buckthorn shrubs from our park that was advertised and organized by Elizabeth. With the help of volunteers, we removed a significant amount of buckthorn, privet, honeysuckle, and grapevines from our park, giving native plants to compete. Another service provided by Soil and Water is the inspection of the various stormwater controls that exist mainly on larger commercial properties within the city. With the help of Carla Regener, who inspects all of our properties, we are establishing relationships with property owners and managers, offering guidance and technical assistance on how to best maintain their stormwater controls. Maintaining these stormwater controls with their capacity to store a large amount of stormwater will be essential in combating the effects of climate change. We value our membership in the Euclid Creek Watershed Council, the oldest such group in Northeast Ohio and possibly the entire state. With Elizabeth's direction, we meet on a regular basis, listening to presentations on relevant topics, sharing ideas, coordinating watershed-wide activities. It is a chance for us to network with other city officials that have shared challenges. The Cuyahoga County Board of Health provides outfall inspection and dry weather flow sampling, as well as good housekeeping training to the employees in our Public Works Department. The City of Beechwood has 76 documented outfalls, which the Board of Health inspects annually. With the assistance of another partner, the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, we have systematically identified and eliminated many of the worst illicit flows. An illicit flow is where sanitary sewage is accessing the storm sewer system, polluting waters of the state of Ohio. Once an outfall has been identified by the Board of Health, the water quality and industrial surveillance crews from regional sewer track it down and advise us to the location of the illicit flow. And then it's up to the city to get it corrected, whether it's on private or public property. This can be a very time-consuming endeavor. Every city within the watershed is mandated by the federal government to maintain all public properties in a manner that prohibits the export of pollutants from leaving those properties, accessing the waters of the state of Ohio. It is called good housekeeping. We receive employee training and technical guidance from the Board of Health and the Tinkers Creek Watershed Partners, another one of our partners. Being a headwaters community located in 6 different watersheds allows us to be members of several watershed groups like the Tinkers Creek Watershed Partners, Mill Creek Watershed Partnership that's managed by the West Creek Conservancy, Donebrook Watershed Partnership, the Sugar and River Watershed Partners, as well as the Euclid Creek Watershed Council. The City of Beechwood believes in supporting all of these organizations. We view each of them as partners in our effort for a cleaner environment and Lake Erie. I also want to thank the Friends of Euclid Creek for all of their hard work promoting clean water and a clean environment through informational programming and hands-on activities. I look forward to their upcoming programs when we can once again gather together in person. It is going to take a coordinated effort by multiple agencies, organizations, communities to address the challenges of climate change and the ongoing effort to keep our Great Lake, Lake Erie, clean in perpetuity. I feel fortunate that we have so many partners assisting us in these efforts. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Chris, for that update from Beechwood and talking about all these common challenges that all of our communities have. Jared's going to get our next trivia set up before I get Josh Phillips' slides set up from the Metro Parks.
So
I'm going to go back to the Friends of Euclid Creek.
that's what I did. Yep. Are you an active Friends of Euclid Creek member? So the choices are yes, no, and not yet. I'll sign up tomorrow. So just leave this open for, let everybody get a chance to vote here. A few more minutes. And if you're not, ask yourselves, why not? You see all this good work they're doing. I'm going to sign up tomorrow. How's that? I can't vote on this poll, but that's one I would vote for. How's that? All right. So we got most people in here, it looks like. So I think we're up to the number we normally get, 55, and share that out. So 51% of the people on this that responded at least are Friends of Euclid Creek members. 16% said not yet. I'll sign up tomorrow. So whoever's receiving those notifications from the website or wherever, be watching for that. And then a third of the people are not. I guess we still got to work on them a little bit. So
Great. Well, Josh, we are all set up for your presentation. Josh is going to give us an update on the natural resource management activities at Acacia and Euclid Creek reservations in 2020 and talk about 2021 upcoming grant projects.
Hi, everybody. It's really great to see everybody tonight, and I hope you're having a good evening. So, yeah, I am the Natural Resource Area Manager for the east side of Cleveland Metro Parks. So I have all of Euclid Creek, Watershed, and then also North Chagrin and South Chagrin reservations. So at Acacia this past year, we had a lot of exciting things happen. We did a little retrofit to the Cedar Road entrance. If you've been to Acacia in the past couple months, you've probably seen all of the brown burlap on the hillside, and that is going to be all a native meadow. So next spring, be sure to have an eye on that, and it should be exciting to watch it develop. We also began an invasive plant contract with Conservation Fund money, and this year the contractor began herbicide treatments of thistle and teasel, which I'm sure you've seen a lot of thistle and teasel at Acacia. And we had a lot of volunteer engagement, and we're very thankful for all our volunteers. We were able to plant 183 trees and shrubs along Cedar Road, and we actually started a lot of independent projects, mulching trees. We have thousands of trees at Acacia, and each one of them requires care. And honestly, we just can't keep up with it. So we really depend greatly upon our volunteers. So Howard and Kevin were really instrumental in keeping up with that this year. And then also, we had some brave souls that were willing to cut off thistle seed heads in strategic areas. And if you've ever cut off thistle seed heads, it's really not a lot of fun. So thanks for doing that. We had a couple, basically every month we've started to do Euclid Creek cleanups. There's a lot of trash that just flows off of all the impermeable surfaces surrounding Acacia. And we had 57 volunteers total. We removed 60 bags of trash. So this is the second year that we've been really trying hard to remove trash from the creek. Oh, next slide. So at Euclid Creek, we actually had an acquisition. Hovnanian owned an area, and it's an upland area. It's 63 acres, and it was funded through Clean Ohio. You can go to the next slide. That's a wonderful picture of one of the headwater streams. So in Euclid Creek, we did a pilot program where we surveyed for Tree of Heaven. Kevin Harrison was really helpful in in helping us out with this. Kevin was able to survey 35 acres, which is amazing, and mapped it all on EdMaps. So that's publicly available data for anybody to view. And we've been treating those tree of heaven this winter to make sure that spotted lanternfly, which hosts on tree of heaven, doesn't start to show up in Euclid Creek reservations. So we're trying to be proactive about it. And actually one of the tree of heavens, I counted the rings and it was 35 years old. So they've been there a little while. Kevin and I went out last weekend and we actually started doing surveys of Canada hemlock. Hemlock actually is being attacked by a host of different invasive insects. And if you've ever been down to the Smokies or down south where there is also hemlock woolly adelgid has completely wiped off hemlock. So it's kind of like becoming functionally extinct. So we have found elongate hemlock scale, which is another pest, and we're going to continue surveys through this winter. We've had a lot of volunteer engagement. Also, it's been great. We removed a lot of invasives along the beach. We had an Eagle Scout project to do tree planting, and we had a lot of bioswale maintenance at Wildwood. So again, the invasive plant contractors were also working at Euclid Creek, and they worked on Japanese stiltgrass and glossy buckthorn. So upcoming grants and projects, it's looking like 2021 is going to be a really exciting year in the watershed. So we're going to plant 500 more trees at Euclid Beach and Wildwood, and that's going to be funded through NOPEC. We were awarded a U.S. Forest Service GLRI grant for soil decompaction. So Euclid Creek Middle School, right across from Euclid Creek, is actually going to be demolished, and the Metro Parks will be acquiring that shortly. And we'll be planting trees there and doing a soil remediation and decompaction project there. So, and then the last one is the Great Lakes Sediment and Nutrient Reduction Program. So we'll have 9,700 square foot of bioswales, and those will be installed at Euclid Beach. Those will treat 2.5 million gallons of stormwater every year. And then also included in that project will be a 2,200 square foot containment area at the stormwater outflow down on the beach. So that's all I have. And if you have questions, just feel free to type them into the chat.
Wonderful. Thanks, Josh, so much for sharing those updates with us. I know we're very fortunate in the Euclid Creek watershed to have, in this over 80% developed watershed, that we have these huge reservations and contiguous pieces of land where we can support watershed services. So we're very grateful to Cleveland Metro Parks for helping with all these great watershed projects. I think Jared's got our next
one. I think a last trivia question for the night here. So, which community in Euclid Creek has the most land area draining to Euclid Creek? So, which is the biggest part of the watershed, or has most land area draining to the watershed? Between Richmond Heights, Lyndhurst, Highland Heights, and Willoughby Hills. All right. Leave this open for about 10 more seconds, and then we'll test everyone's knowledge, see how everyone came out on this one. All right, getting there. So looks like voting slowed down a little bit. Gonna turn off the poll and share out the results. So our results, so pretty even split here among the top two. So Richmond Heights came out on top, followed by Lyndhurst, Highland Heights, and Willoughby Hills. And the correct answer is Highland Heights. So if you're one of the 11 people who selected Highland Heights in this poll, give yourself a pat on the back. And you can boast of your watershed knowledge the next time you meet in person.
And you can prepare if you did decide to join Friends of Euclid Creek tomorrow by paying your dues, your annual dues. You can join Friends of Euclid Creek for their trivia night coming up soon.
Ooh.
Yes. So our next presenter for the night, before our little Watershed Interactive Break is Kimberly Brewster. She's with Chagrin River Watershed Partners, and she's going to speak to us about the benefits of riparian and wetland setbacks, in addition to adoption and implementation assistance that's available to our Euclid Creek communities, which is work supported through our Central Lake Erie Basin Collaborative.
Yeah, hi everybody. So like Elizabeth mentioned, I'm Kim Brewster. I work with Chagrin River Watershed Partners, but we partner very closely with the Euclid Creek Watershed Partners, including Elizabeth and Jared and Meg and others with Cuyahoga Soil and Water Conservation District and Friends of Euclid Creek and the Euclid Creek Watershed Program. And so we partner, our partnership is through the Central Lake Erie Basin Collaborative, which if you haven't heard of the collaborative, it's a network of watershed organizations, agencies, volunteer-based initiatives, and other types of groups that are working together to protect our watersheds and Lake Erie. There's our multiple watershed groups and initiatives in Northeast Ohio. And several years ago, we made the decision that it would make sense to there's limited resources, so we share our resources, share our expertise, and in recent years, we've been able to secure some grant funding to support regional technical services that are shared among the watershed groups. You can see the map, which shows the geographic extent of our network. So during tonight's presentation, I'll use the word riparian quite a bit. I think we've heard it from other speakers too, but just as a reminder, a riparian area is the land alongside a water body or rivers or streams, lakes, etc. So stormwater, as we've heard tonight, is one of the primary challenges in many Northeast Ohio watersheds. As stormwater is precipitation that falls on the landscape and flows directly to our waterways without being treated at any sort of treatment facility. As our communities are developed, natural landscapes with vegetation are replaced with impervious surfaces such as roads, driveways, parking lots, roofs, and other hard surfaces. So when precipitation like rain or snow falls onto these hard impervious surfaces during a storm event, that stormwater flows faster over these surfaces and picks up energy and pollutants as it flows to our storm sewers and our streams. This increased stormwater leads to flooding, erosion, and water quality concerns for residents and communities. So healthy riparian areas where natural vegetation is allowed to remain in place provide protection against these stormwater challenges. Vegetated riparian areas help soak up and slow down flood flows, and the roots of the vegetation along streams and riparian areas helps hold stream bank soils in place and helps prevent erosion. These areas also help filter pollutants from stormwater such as sediment and nutrients, which we talked a little bit about earlier. And finally, people in the Euclid Creek watershed enjoy hiking, bird watching, and other outdoor activities along streams in the watershed. And healthy riparian areas can help protect the high quality of these streams. So as we'll see, setback zoning is a tool to help maintain these free services as land is developed or redeveloped in the watershed. The wider the area along a stream that's kept vegetated and healthy, the more of those free services are provided to residents and the community. So now I'm going to discuss a tool that communities can use to maintain these areas and the benefits that they provide. Riparian setbacks are a zoning tool that communities can use to maintain these free services as communities grow and land is developed or redeveloped. Riparian setbacks control the location of soil disturbing activities within the riparian zone. They're very similar to other types of setbacks, such as front or side yard setbacks, and they can be flexed with those other setbacks to allow the riparian setback to be maintained without making lots unbuildable. So riparian setbacks are not intended to prevent development, but to find the best location for development on a particular property. So over 80 communities across the state have riparian setbacks. Showing a map right now of the Chagrin River watershed. 18 communities in the Chagrin River watershed have adopted riparian setbacks or other codes protecting natural areas during development. Many of those communities have used our model, and we've worked with many through the adoption process. On the next slide, I'll show a similar map for the Euclid Creek watershed. So 8 communities in the Euclid Creek watershed have adopted riparian setbacks or other codes protecting natural areas during development. Additionally, our partner communities are working with us to adopt in a few communities that don't already have setbacks. As an example, we've been assisting Lyndhurst and Highland Heights since 2018 through the Central Lake Erie Basin Collaborative in partnership with Elizabeth Heiser, Cuyahoga Soil and Water, the Euclid Creek Watershed Program, and Friends of Euclid Creek. So this assistance has included things like presentations to community staff and elected officials, development of draft setback maps for review by the community, and preparation of educational materials for both community representatives and residents. We also provided a presentation to the Highland Heights Planning and Zoning Commission. So the collaborative provides assistance to communities both through the riparian setback adoption process. We also help communities implement riparian setbacks after they've been adopted. Setback adoption assistance can include the things I just mentioned. So talking with community staff, elected officials, providing tailored resources to the community to get the conversation started about adopting riparian setbacks, and also providing public educational materials. Implementation assistance can include things like site visits to investigate the application of setbacks for a specific site to determine the extent of the setback on that property, providing plan review for the community to ensure setbacks and other natural resource protection codes are considered early in the planning stage, and also helping the community review variance requests that might come in. Something exciting to look out for in 2021 is that the collaborative is working on a riparian setback implementation workshop for our community partners that already have riparian or wetland setbacks. So keep an eye out for this, for more updates about this coming soon. Just wanted to point out, CRWP has many more resources about our model codes on our website. You're welcome to take a look anytime. And on the next slide, just providing some contact information. If your community would like assistance adopting riparian setbacks, we would be glad to provide support in collaboration with Elizabeth and the Euclid Creek Watershed Program. So please reach out to Elizabeth to request this type of assistance. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Kim, for sharing tonight. You know, we're very fortunate to have partners, especially that can get pulled in on some of this work that, you know, maybe we could do, but isn't really our bailiwick. So I really appreciate Kim helping me with all this codes assistance, because I see all these lines of jargon and it makes my brain go nutty. So Jared, I don't think we have any more trivia, right? We're done with the trivia for the night. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so everyone can see each other. Hello. And we are going to try to get up. So I first want to thank all of our presenters for joining us tonight, creating content, sharing these important updates with you, even when we couldn't offer them cookies or beverages to reward them. And instead they just get to be on Zoom with us. So to refresh ourselves before we ask questions, I would like, don't do it just yet, but everyone's going to go grab your favorite watershed item. If you don't have a favorite watershed item, maybe grab your notepad and draw your favorite watershed item or activity that maybe you'd like to participate in this year. And while you're doing that, we're going to show a photo slideshow, as well as share the Friends of Euclid Creek's first podcast, so we can get just a little visual break, stand up, stretch, and then we're all going to come back. You have 7 minutes for this podcast to find your watershed item. And then, like, for example, I've got mine ready because I knew ahead of time. My Woodsy the Owl Don't Pollute shirt is my favorite watershed item. That was my Christmas gift to myself. So grab that and we will get a picture of all of us holding up our watershed item before we break into our networking groups. So I will get our slideshow loaded up and our podcast. You can feel free to just sit here and draw your watershed item. But if you need to go get a beverage, need to take a break, now's a good time. If you need to leave us, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you sitting in. We're hopeful that most of our presenters will stay on, and we are going to have several breakout groups where we can have some more smaller individual discussions after the podcast. Thanks, everyone.
Hello, my name is Natalie Kyer-Lieber. I live in Cuyahoga County, Ohio, and I am an advocate for the Euclid Creek watershed. As a citizen, I advocate for the watershed because my family has lived along its boundaries for 4 generations. I have learned to appreciate the importance of this natural resource and I am concerned that its health is in jeopardy. My focus today is to discuss the Euclid Creek Watershed and an organization that supports its well-being. But prior to doing so, it is first necessary to understand why watersheds are important. A watershed is a land area that channels rainfall and snowmelt to creeks, streams, and rivers, then eventually to reservoirs, bays, lakes, such as Lake Erie or an ocean. Every human on Earth lives in a watershed. We drive, walk, and bike through watersheds daily, usually without giving them much thought. The streams and creeks that are embedded within watersheds amble on 24 hours a day, working diligently to maintain water quality for both humans and wildlife. We should all get to know our watersheds. Although it may seem that friending a watershed hardly matters among the pressing issues in our lives, the truth is that watersheds can be very giving and are vital to our quality of life. A healthy watershed provides opportunities for hiking, fishing, and wildlife viewing within our parks and communities. There are also economic benefits to living within a healthy watershed, including increased property values, employment, and revenue opportunities. For example, the Cleveland Metro Parks published a report in 2018 which states that residents of Cuyahoga County receive a benefit of $64.6 million per year for the recreational use of their spaces. This podcast is intended to introduce to you a Northeast Ohio watershed group that is actively involved within its community. The Friends of Euclid Creek is a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to educating those who live and work within the Euclid Creek watershed. Our mission is to explain the importance of this natural resource and why it should be protected. Euclid Creek has spoken to us in various ways, and we find it our privilege to spread its message to others. Our slogan is, "We speak for the creek." Before I tell you more about this organization, I want to provide a little background on Euclid Creek. Euclid Creek encompasses 24 square miles in northeastern Cuyahoga County and a small part of Lake County, Ohio. It covers portions of 12 communities in total and 9 municipalities which make up the Euclid Creek Watershed Council. These cities include Beechwood, Lyndhurst, South Euclid, Euclid, Cleveland, Richmond Heights, Mayfield Heights, Mayfield Village, Highland Heights, and Willoughby Hills. Euclid Creek's length total is 43 miles. It has an 11.5-mile long main branch, which extends from the Euclid Creek Reservation of the Cleveland Metro Parks to Lake Erie. This main branch is fed by a 16-mile long west branch and a 19-mile long east branch. The west branch is commonly referred to as the southern part of the main branch. Euclid Creek's outflow to Lake Erie occurs at Wildwood Park on the northeastern edge of Cleveland. It is the 24-square-mile Euclid Creek watershed that channels water to Euclid Creek. In turn, Euclid Creek delivers water to Lake Erie. Friends of Euclid Creek operates with the mission to engage the community and raise awareness about why it is necessary to preserve the natural features of the watershed. It is a privilege to live in Northeast Ohio and to be able to draw from this natural resource. But like any living body, it also requires care. With our group's mission in mind, I would like to draw your attention to a well-known and dramatic example of what can happen when a watershed is in trouble. Our friends and neighbors in northwestern Ohio live in the Maumee watershed. The Maumee watershed empties into the western basin of Lake Erie. Phosphorus runoff, primarily thought to be from heavy agriculture in the Maumee watershed, has polluted Lake Erie, and the results produce algal blooms which can become toxic. Many of us may remember the national headlines from August 2014 during the Toledo water crisis when tap water was contaminated with cyanobacteria from the algal blooms and was rendered undrinkable. From this example, we can see how overlooking a positive watershed connection can have harmful consequences. For those of us who have experienced flooded basements, postponed trips to the lakefront as a result of high bacteria counts, or have watched our bank accounts drain due to costly repair bills from water damage after heavy rains, then we have personally experienced the negative impacts of what it can mean to live in a compromised watershed. Friends of Euclid Creek exists to promote a watershed connection within its communities in hopes of inspiring individuals to take simple actions to improve the quality of Euclid Creek. This promotion is accomplished by offering educational events throughout the year, engaging with other watershed groups and organizations, offering multiple volunteer opportunities, and funding college scholarships. Our educational events include how humans impact water, geologic tours along the creek, stormwater management, presentations on the importance of trees and native plants, rain barrel workshops, and much more. A monthly e-newsletter, brochures, and educational mailings round out the educational offerings. There are also various volunteer opportunities available. Water quality monitoring, pulling of invasive species on reserve properties, trash removal within the watershed, community event education tables, and plantings offer hands-on experience within the watershed. Friends of Euclid Creek collaborates with other environmental groups and organizations, and all contribute to the overall goal of improving and maintaining a healthy and vibrant watershed. And finally, Friends of Euclid Creek offers a $1,000 scholarship to a high school senior or college student who is currently studying or is interested in studying environmental science. All interested and qualified students should visit our website for details. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our podcast. To find out more about our organization and how simple actions can make a big difference to improve our watershed community, please visit our website at friendsofeuclidcreek.com.